In the ancient land of Israel, two armies stood on opposite sides of a valley ready for war. The Philistines had gathered their forces on one hill, and the Israelites stood on another, with the valley of Elah stretching between them. From a Philistine camp stepped a giant. His name was Goliath, and he was from the city of Gath. He stood over 9 feet tall. He wore a bronze helmet on his head and carried a massive bronze spear. The shaft of his spear was as thick as a weaver's beam, and his iron spearhead weighed 600 shekels. A shield-bearer walked before him wherever he went. Every morning and every evening for 40 days, Goliath walked to the front of the Philistine line and shouted the same challenge across the valley. He called out to the armies of Israel, saying that he was a Philistine champion, and he demanded that Israel choose a man to fight him. He told them that if their man could kill him, the Philistines would become their servants. But if he killed their man, then Israel would serve the Philistines. He mocked them, asking if anyone in Israel was brave enough to face him. King Saul and all of Israel heard these words and were deeply shaken. No man stepped forward. No soldier was willing. Fear had gripped the entire army of Israel. Now there was a young shepherd boy from Bethlehem named David. He was the youngest son of a man named Jesse from the tribe of Judah. David had been tending his father's sheep out in the fields, but Jesse sent him to the battlefield to bring food to his 3 oldest brothers who were soldiers in Saul's army. David arrived at the Israelite camp just as the army was heading out to the battle lines. He greeted his brothers and began talking with them. And then he heard it. Goliath stepped out once again from the Philistine lines and shouted his challenge across the valley. David watched as the Israelite soldiers turned and ran in fear. The men around David told him that the king had promised great wealth to whoever killed this giant. They said the king would give his daughter in marriage to the man who defeated Goliath, and that man's family would be exempt from paying taxes in all of Israel. David began asking questions. He could not understand why everyone was so afraid. He asked who this Philistine was that he should defy the armies of the living God. His oldest brother Eliab overheard him and became angry. He told David to go back to his sheep, accusing him of being conceited and of coming to the battle just to watch the fighting. But David kept asking the same question, and word about his boldness eventually reached King Saul. Saul sent for David, and David came before the king. He told Saul that no one should lose heart because of this Philistine. He told the king that he would go and fight Goliath himself. Saul looked at this young shepherd boy and said that David was not able to fight the giant. He said David was only a youth while Goliath had been a warrior since he was a boy. But David was not finished speaking. He told King Saul about his life as a shepherd. He explained that when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from his flock, he would chase it down, strike it, and rescue the lamb from its mouth. When the animal turned on him, he would grab it by the hair and kill it. David had killed both lions and bears with his own hands to protect his sheep. He told the king that this Philistine would be like one of those animals because he had defied the armies of the living God. He declared that the same God who had delivered him from the claws of the lion and the bear would deliver him from the hand of Goliath. Saul finally agreed. He told David to go and that the Lord would be with him. Saul tried to dress David in his own royal armor. He put a coat of bronze on his head and a coat of armor on his body. But David had never worn armor before, and he could not move properly in it. He told the king he could not walk in these things, and he took them off. Instead, David walked to a nearby stream and chose 5 smooth stones. He put them in his shepherd's pouch, took his sling in his hand, and walked toward the Philistine champion. When Goliath saw David approaching, he was insulted. He looked David over and despised him because he was young and healthy and handsome. He asked David if he was a dog, that Israel would send a boy with sticks to fight him. Goliath cursed David by his gods and told him to come forward so that he could feed his flesh to the birds of the air and the wild animals. David answered the giant without flinching. He told Goliath that he came in the name of the Lord of armies, the God of the armies of Israel whom Goliath had defied. He told Goliath that on that very day, God would deliver him into his hands. He would strike him down and cut off his head. He would give the bodies of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals. He declared that all the earth would know that there is a God in Israel, and that every person gathered there would know that the Lord does not need swords or spears to save. The battle belongs to God, and he would give all of them into Israel's hands. Goliath rose and moved closer to attack David. David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. He reached into his bag, took out a stone, and placed it in his sling. He swung it and released it. The stone flew through the air and struck Goliath on the forehead. The stone sank deep into his skull, and the giant crashed face down onto the ground. With just one stone and a sling, David had struck down the Philistine. Goliath was dead, and David had not even used a sword. David then ran to where Goliath lay, drew the giant's own sword from its sheath, and with it cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. The Israelite army surged forward with a great shout and pursued them. That day, Israel won a tremendous victory,